Hi, my name is Bekkah. Welcome to Raising Them Simply. Here we share all about our secular homeschool as a family of 5. Today we're going to do a Meet the Teacher. We recently have gone past 120 subscribers here on this channel, and I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for taking the time to join our family and hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate each and every one of you for coming along on this journey. And because of that, I just wanted to go through some questions so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better as the teacher behind our homeschool. So like I had mentioned, we are a family of 5. I have my 6-year-old who we are doing first grade work with. My almost 3-year-old, she is wanting to do more and more, but we're not doing anything structured with her. And then we've got my 8-month-old as well. If I am looking off to the side here, my notes are over here so I could go through the questions, so just so that you guys are aware. But that's how many we have in our homeschool. And the reason that kind of brought us to our homeschooling journey to begin with was I had always knew that I wanted to homeschool. I remember telling my friends in high school that I was going to homeschool my kids, and everyone thought that I was just crazy. But there's a couple of things or reasons why I knew that. One, I was one of the kids that was often lost in the shuffle, especially when it came to math. Math was always complicated for me because the class pace went way faster than what my understanding was able to keep up with it. For the standardized testing, if we're in Minnesota here, I was born and raised here, and we do a lot of standardized testing through the public school system. And in order to graduate high school, actually, as a junior, I had to get NEET's expectation on the standardized test. And that was a really big pressure for me because I had never actually met expectations for math. Like I said, I often had to come into class early or stay after school late with the teacher just to understand things. And in fact, my junior year for high school, my math teacher, he just did a 10-minute lecture and then it was free time. They were trying to teach the students how to self-learn like it would be for college. And so I taught myself math for one of the semesters even. And a good chunk of the year before I had that math teacher, I had a different math teacher the first trimesters of that school year, all we did was learn what we needed for the standardized test. And once the standardized test was done, we went and learned the stuff that we were actually supposed to learn for the school year. And I did not like the whole concept of learning to pass the test. All that information just gets lost. You don't remember anything. And I became really good at test taking in the sense of I was able to memorize all this information short term to regurgitate it for the test, and I would forget all of it. And that's something that I even struggled with in college as well, was retaining all the information. So another thing is that it did not allow any freedom of choice for me. The way our school worked was that we had 6 classes, and 4 of those classes were taken up by required, math, science, English, that type of thing. So I was only left with 2 electives, but they weren't true electives. Even though we were allowed 2 electives a term, we still had other classes that we needed for graduation, but they allowed the students to determine when they were going to take those within the 4 years of high school. So I remember I needed an art class. Well, that took an elective. There was one trimester where I even had to do something where they did 0 hour for health. So I took 7 classes in one day. I had to come into school an hour and a half early to take health, and then I'd take my other 6 classes for the day, and then I'd stay after school for I was very heavily involved in a program called Air Force JROTC. And so the small engines class that I wanted to take, I wasn't allowed to because it didn't fit within my schedule. I wanted to take, I believe there was a sewing class or something like that. I wasn't able to take that class because ROTC took up all of my real electives, because even though they say you had 2 electives per trimester, it didn't work in the schedule that way because there were still those other classes that you needed for graduation. And I wasn't allowed that freedom to be able to take and do what I wanted to. And so I always knew I wanted to homeschool for that reason. And I'm really thankful that we're able to shape our life in that way, where we're able to homeschool our children. Also, if you're new here, I'm also a registered nurse, so I work 2 to 3 days a week, and that allows us to homeschool on the days where I'm off and still being able to work. And my husband has a job where he just works on the days where I'm not working. So we always have someone home with the kids. We're the ones raising them. They're not in childcare or anything like that. And by all means, if you need something like that, that's fine. It just wasn't what was best for our family. So for homeschooling, I had mentioned that I have my 6-year-old. We've been doing light type homeschool stuff since he was about 2.5 to 3. I'm very interested in child-led learning and child development. I have a minor in psychology, and I took a lot of classes like that in college. And I did a lot of Montessori inspired type child-led stuff while he was growing up. So if you count that as homeschooling, some people don't totally understand that, but we've been homeschooling seriously now for about 1.5 years with him. We started doing preschool type stuff in January. That's just how it had worked out. We started doing stuff in January, thinking that we'd do preschool up until September, and then we would transition into kindergarten. But he just flew through all the preschool stuff, and he just wanted more and more. So we started kindergarten. We started preschool in that January. We started kindergarten that March, and then we did like an extended type kindergarten. And then we leveled up this last year in August. As far as our style for homeschooling, there's kind of 2 different things. We love unit studies, but we also do like a family style homeschool approach. And even though I'm only homeschooling the one right now, the reason why I say family style homeschooling is that if I'm going to invest in something in this stage of life with homeschool, I want it to be able to be reused or recycled with my other kids as much as possible. So a lot of the subjects that you may notice on our channel for their PDF curriculum, so like Little School of Smiths, are doing their American history right now. We also did their anatomy, Me and My Amazing Body. That's a PDF, and it's a curriculum that I can teach multiple children to. For science right now, we're doing Seashore Science from Homeschool Glue. That's another one that works really well with multiple kids. We do all about reading. That is something that I can also reuse for my other children. So like I said, if I'm going to invest in something, I want to be able to reuse it as much as possible. And then as my kids get older and we get more involved in like biology and chemistry and things like that, my plan is to still do curriculum where I can teach all my kids at the same time, obviously for as long as it works for us that way, but that is the plan right now. Unit studies, I also find, are something that we really do enjoy and something that we just naturally did before we started buying curriculum. So when I mentioned we did preschool, we did a little unit study that I created on seeds. It was the springtime. We learned about the seed, the different parts of the seed, what a seed needs in order to grow into whatever it is that it's growing into. We learned about the anatomy of different flowers for the plant that it would grow. We grew our own seeds. We had worksheets where it was like the life cycle of a plant, all of this stuff. We'd get all these tons of books from the library, and that just naturally is what really worked well for us. We also did a unit study on birds. So we did a like the bald eagle, we did a robin, we also did life cycle on bees and caterpillars. Excuse me. So that's something that just naturally went with that child-led learning approach. So for as far as history, we're doing American history this past year because it's an election year. So it just made the most sense to us to do it like an introductory, how did America become to be type of unit study. And then for science, Seashore Science is more like a unit study too. That it's actually a program that you could do like over a summer, or you could do it for half of a school year. But because we're year-round homeschoolers, we really are stretching it out. It just really works well for us. So we really do that family style approach, as well as unit studies just works really well for us. My favorite subject to teach, probably history, and maybe tied between history and science. If younger Bekkah could hear me say that I love history, I wouldn't have believed you. History was another thing that I really struggled with because of the way that it was approached and having to memorize all these important people and dates and all that stuff. It wasn't something that I jived well with. But the way that we are approaching history, and as I get older, I really do like learning about different aspects of all different types of history, and not a lot of like early American history. I really enjoy local history, like how our town became a thing, the important landmarks in the town, all that stuff. I really do enjoy learning about all of that, and that's kind of the way that we're approaching history. As long as my kids have a good foundation when they graduate as far as the timeline of history goes, I don't really care too much if they don't remember every single date of all these different things, or if they can regurgitate all of these facts and dates for me. I just want them to relatively know, okay, Revolutionary War, that's when America started. Civil War, when you talk about slavery and things like that. That's really my goal and kind of my philosophy when it comes to that. My least favorite subject would have to be reading in this particular stage of life. I feel like for a lot of homeschoolers too, there's just all this pressure on the parent on teaching your kid to read as being a really big deal. And I love reading. That is something that I always excelled in through school, but it's not the same for my son. He does have dyslexia. It's a little harder for him to grasp different concepts and stuff, and he's still young. This is a subject that I don't expect him to, take off and run with right away by any means. But in this current stage, that would have to be my least favorite to teach right now. Kind of part of that's kind of the hardest part of homeschooling for me is not just that, but having the other children who aren't schooling and in the stages that they are. My youngest is now crawling, she's standing up on things, she's climbing on top of things. So trying to keep her occupied with different things that are safe. We have gates, we'll gate up everything and put toys on the floor. We try to let her crawl around and stuff. But of course she always needs me. And then my middle child, she wants to be involved, but it's not developmentally there yet. And that's a lot right now. So I think getting into the flow of things in my current stage of life, that would have to be the most tricky part, is making sure that I'm able to meet everyone's needs and have everything go smoothly. So that's the hardest part for homeschooling right now. My favorite part though of homeschooling is seeing my son's or any of my children's face light up when they learn something new, and that pride that you have in yourself knowing that you're the one that helped them get there. I mean, it could just be little things like we're doing math with confidence, and my son really grasped, we were doing tally marks, and my son had always had a hard time with when you do the 5 tally marks and then you keep going to get to 10, that second 5 tally mark, right, you would do the slash through it. And it's hard because you're counting to 10, but you also have to remember that every time you do a 5s, you group it that way. And my son did the tally marks for the number 10 correctly without any hesitation. And that was so cool when he realized that he did it correctly and he didn't do another line for 10 instead of doing a slash through it. He was just so proud of himself. Or when he reads a really tricky word, or he remembers the sound of a letter, all those little things, that's by far my favorite part of homeschooling. And what do I kind of like to do for me? So this one's tricky because my current stage of life, I love researching. I love watching YouTube videos and learning about different things, ways that we can improve our homeschooling, but also our life and our life flow. We're pretty naturally minded over here, so learning different things about that. I love cooking from scratch. I recently got into making our own bread again. When my oldest was an only child, I did all of our own bread and hamburger buns and hot dog buns and rolls and cakes, everything. I made everything, all our breads from scratch, and I actually kneaded everything by hand. I loved it. That's not something that I can do right now. So I do have a bread machine that I allow to mix and rise everything in, and then I take it out. I just prefer it when it's baked in our own oven. So I've been doing that, and I've been staying on top of that as far as doing that every week for our own sandwich bread. That's something I really enjoy. I also just really love hiking and being outside with my kids. I feel like especially the older I get, the more I just want to be in the middle of the woods somewhere. And while one day we would love to be on a piece of property and have our own chickens, and my dream one day would be to have like a milk cow, farming type family, that's not where we're at right now. We're hoping in a few years to get some chickens, but that's not something we could do right now. But there was this one national park or state park that we went to a couple weeks ago, and there was this great hiking trail, and there was a waterfall, and the kids could climb all over these rocks and these fallen trees and play in the creek and stuff, and it was just great. I just love doing stuff like that. And if we can involve our homeschool friends in that, then that's just even better. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. I really do love interacting with you guys. I would love to learn about you guys more. Please introduce yourself so that I get to know you guys better, and please hit that subscribe button. It is a free way to help support my channel and get notified of future videos, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.